Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me for a virtual visit with your high school today. My name is Keandra Porche, and I am one of the admissions representatives at Schoolcraft College. My job is to speak with high school students like yourselves, and then also assist other prospective students through the application and enrollment process. I am housed in the Admissions and Welcome Center here at Schoolcraft, so more than likely you'll see myself or one of my colleagues when you're first coming onto campus, because we are your first stop at the institution when you're getting started and working towards actually enrolling in your classes here at Schoolcraft. Throughout the presentation, um, feel free to drop any questions that you do have in the chat. I will leave time at the end of the session for a bit of a Q&A. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and then also I'll give you time to unmute yourselves at the end. All right, there we go. So I always like to start off with some facts about Schoolcraft. If you haven't heard of Schoolcraft before or know a little about it, we do have this year close to 14,000 students, credit students, who are currently enrolled with us. So credit students are students who may be working towards an associate's degree. These may be students who are on a transfer path and their end goal is to get a bachelor's degree, but they're using us as a starting point. These students could also be dual enrollment students, which are high school students like yourselves who are taking college credit while they're still in high school to use after they graduate. We also have guest students who have a home institution, but they're taking 1 or 2 classes with us to fulfill some of their program requirements at a much cheaper rate, which I'll kind of go over later in my presentation. To transfer those credits back to their home institutions. So we have a variety, as you can see, just with our credit students, we have a variety of different types of students and different type of options for students when you come to campus, and how you may be taking your classes and what particular goals you may be working towards. At Schoolcraft, we do have over 130 academic programs that we do offer. So for those of you who are still trying to figure out what exactly you want to do after high school or still exploring your options, we have a ton of different academic areas to choose from, ranging from health sciences, ranging from health sciences to culinary, to manufacturing type fields, to business. So we have something in a lot of different areas for you to explore as an option when it comes to taking courses with us. We also have staff on campus who are there to support you through that exploratory phase or process that you may be going through as you explore your different options for career choices. Our class sizes are small. So although we have those 14,000 students who are on our broader campus, we do remain at a 21-to-1 ratio when it comes to student and teacher. So it's not uncommon on our campus for your professor to know you by name and for you to really be able to interact with your peers and your professors in the classroom. One reason being is that we have very practical classroom settings. So a lot of our programs are very hands-on, very practical. So what you'll see out in the workforce and what you'll experience in the workforce, ranging from the type of equipment we have available for our students in the classroom to the connections that our faculty and staff have with getting our students connected to those employment opportunities and networking opportunities before they even leave campus. Here at Schoolcraft, like I said, a lot of students will use us as a starting point because we are huge cost savings when it comes to taking courses, but we offer a ton of scholarships to students. For the Detroit region specifically, if you qualify for the Detroit Promise, we specifically accept that as a scholarship opportunities for our students who reside in the city of Detroit, but also go to school in the city of Detroit. You can potentially go to Schoolcraft almost for free, utilizing that scholarship alone. But in addition to that, Schoolcraft offers our own set of scholarships to students. We have a few specifically in our admissions office, ranging from our Award of Excellence to our trustee scholarships that we offer for those of you coming right out of high school, in our 2023 grads that you may be eligible for based on your GPA and other qualifications for those. But then institutionally, we have a ton of scholarship opportunities available for you to take advantage of to knock down that cost even more. And of course, if you haven't done so already, fill out your FAFSA because that's another way you can qualify for financial aid and see what other federal or state aid you may be eligible for. One nice thing about Schoolcraft specifically is that we are an open enrollment institution. So what that means is that we have no minimum GPA or test score requirement to be admitted. As you'll see later on my presentation, we do require students to submit their transcripts and test scores, but that does not affect the student's admission to the institution in any way. So I tell my high school students, if you struggle a little bit in high school, like your first year or your final year, look at Schoolcraft as a fresh start because we will not take those scores and that cumulative GPA at the end into consideration for your admissions. Of course, I encourage you all to do the best you can when you're finishing up high school, because like I said, we do have scholarship opportunities that are available, and some of those are based on your GPA. So you want to make sure that you're performing at your highest level as you're finishing up high school and do your very best. But for those who may feel like they weren't able to get into their dream school or their first choice, Schoolcraft is an amazing option when it comes to having that open door policy and open enrollment policy where we are accepting students and giving them a fair shot, because sometimes we just struggle and we just need a fresh start and somewhere a starting point for us to start that over. We do have a ton of international students on campus, so that makes our school pretty diverse when it comes to the type of students outside of the types of student you can be on campus. We do have international students from over 170 international students from over 40 countries that attend Schoolcraft with our specific international office, working with those students specifically to help them navigate the process. So regardless of if you are planning to come specifically to Schoolcraft or you're eventually planning to transfer to a 4-year or start off at a 4-year, you should think of college institutions as a whole and how they fit into your idea, how they are your ideal fit, and how they fit into what you have planned for yourself as a student and then eventually as a professional. So first and foremost, the most important thing is admissions requirements. So like I mentioned in my last slide, Schoolcraft specifically is an open enrollment institution where we don't take your cumulative GPA or your test scores into consideration for your admissions, but there are other institutions that take that into consideration. So you want to make sure that you are aware of what the admissions requirements are for those institutions that you are applying for, and that you're meeting the criteria when you are applying for these various institutions, admissions to these various institutions, and you're not going into it blindly. Also, if you're planning to use this as a starting point, what does those transfer admissions processes look like? It's never too early to start exploring those options. Of course, we have staff on campus who is here to support you within that process, but it's never too early to start looking at those options either. Also, academic programs. Make sure that the college that you're choosing has the academic programs that you're looking for. I always tell students this, not every college is going to have everything that you're looking for, but most importantly, you want to make sure that they have the program that you're looking for. And I also encourage students to even look for a secondary option because it's a lot easier for you to switch majors versus having to transfer to an entirely different institution. You wouldn't want to go somewhere where you know you're interested in studying social work and they don't offer a social work program for you. So you want to make sure that they have what you're interested in and what you may potentially want to go into. It's okay if you change your mind, but that's why I always encourage students to see if they even have a backup that you might be interested in. Thirdly, costs. Make sure that you can afford this institution that you're going for. Do they offer you scholarship opportunities that can cut down that cost of tuition? Are they affordable? Because the last thing we want is for you to get to an institution and then after the first semester or the first year, you're forced to leave because you can no longer afford it. So you want to kind of think a little bit further out in terms of how do you plan on paying for your college expenses? Like I said, a ton of our students are being awarded scholarship opportunities. We accept that Detroit Promise, and then we also have our own scholarships that we offer. So we're cutting down the cost of tuition for our students tremendously. We have one of our student leaders who always shares his story of how he was just able to buy AirPods using some of his leftover funds he got from scholarships. But you have the ability to do that because if you're getting a ton of scholarships awarded to you through the institutions, through outside scholarships, you may have something left over to use towards personal expenses or school supplies if needed. So make sure that you can afford where you're going and you're able to stay there throughout whatever length of time you need to fulfill your program requirements. Also, I'll touch on a little bit later when I get talk about financial aid, but I'm going to hit on renewable scholarships. Those are super important, and I'll talk about what the difference between renewable and non-renewable or one-time scholarships are. But just keep that in mind as I go through the financial aid portion, because cost is super important when you are making your college decision. Also, geographic location. Where is the college located? If you know that you like to eat, if that's important to you, you want to make sure either the campus has food options that you like, or there's restaurants around the community. If you like to do your hair, do they have a beauty supply? That was super important to me when I was an undergrad, as an ideal fit. Like that was one of the contributing factors. Like, okay, what's around the campus that can support me as an individual outside of just me being a student? Because you have to be here for 2+ years of your life. So you want to make sure that they have things around surrounding the campus and in the area of the campus where you can get to that still gives you a sense of yourself and you're able to have your needs met as an individual outside of just being a student at the institution. Demographics, who's on the campus? Are there other students that look like you? Is that important to you? Kind of reflecting on that and seeing how the campus meets your demographic needs for what type of students are on campus. Support services. Do they have supports in place for you in terms of your academics? Do they have tutoring? Do they have workshops? Do they have success coaches to help you be successful as a student? The goal of you going to college is to actually persist and then eventually graduate with a degree so you can get a good paying job. So you want to make sure that you have support on campus and they have those things in place or those offices in place that are available to you as a resource if needed. Employment outcomes. Schoolcraft prides itself on building partnerships and with employers and then other external partners so we can provide great employment outcomes for our students. There are so many of our programs. Like I said, our faculties are well connected within our various programs. There's so many students who are getting jobs while they're still in school in their respective areas. They're getting connected as they're approaching graduation or right after they are graduating from the institution because our students are known. These employers know that Schoolcraft students are prepared to fulfill the line of work that they're in. So you want to make sure that the school you're going to is actually assisting their students with getting employed after they graduate. That's the goal. Like I said, of going to college is for you to graduate and get a good paying job. So you want to make sure that you're employable and you are getting employed after you graduate from that institution. Student life, anything you like to do outside of the classroom, whether it be athletics or getting involved with on-campus organizations and clubs, make sure that they have what you're looking for. If you are a star football player at your high school and you know your end goal is to go to the NFL, make sure that they have a great football team, if you know like, hey, this is what I want to do, and they are supporting you within that. You want to make sure they have what you're looking for as a student, even outside of the classroom, because like I said, you have to be there for 2+ years of your life. So you want to make sure that they have a thriving student life and something that's appealing to you, because you have to be a student there. And then lastly, reputation. It kind of goes hand in hand with like employment outcomes. And then also if you're heavily involved in athletics, what's their reputation for those types of things? And is it a reputation you want to be a part of, and you want to honestly contribute your time to, and spend your money on, honestly. So these are all things. Of course, there are other things that fall within these, that may be subcategories of these, but these are things you should consider as a whole, regardless of what college you're planning to go to after you graduate from high school or that you're considering. So give this some food for thought, and really take these into consideration as you make your decisions on your next steps after high school. So turning back over to Schoolcraft specifically, we do have a ton of, like I said, we have a ton of academic program offerings. Within that, we have 3 different locations that we offer classes to students. So first and foremost, we have our main campus, which is located on Haggerty Road between 6 and 7 Mile in Livonia. But in addition to our main campus, we have our public safety training complex and our manufacturing engineering center. So majority of our programs are housed on our main campus. So majority of the time you will have courses over at the main campus. But if you are in some specialized areas that may fall under public safety, for example, so that might be criminal justice, homeland security, our fire technology program, or our police academy, you may also have courses that you may have to take over at our public safety training complex. We also have our MEC Center, as I mentioned, and if you fall in the areas of like welding or mechatronics or metallurgy or plastics technology, those areas, you may have courses that are over at the Manufacturing Engineering Center. So I always encourage students, when you're coming to Schoolcraft, make sure you know where your class is located, because we do have 3 different campuses, especially depending on if you're in one of those specialized areas that we have those specific skill sets at. So particularly our public safety training complex and our MEC Center, those are how those campuses sit in an industrial area. As I mentioned earlier, Schoolcraft prides itself on building partnerships to provide more access to employment opportunities, and occupational experiences to our students. So with that being said, those campuses sit in an industrial area where we are able to build those partnerships with those facilities and companies that are in that area. A lot of the students who graduate from the program are employed in that area, and they're coming back and they're seeking out those skills trade like fields, and individuals who are in those programs to fulfill positions that they know that are open. So that's just one example of a partnership that we do have, and how our campuses, our faculty are getting connected to those employers and connecting those resources. So whether it be offering our students internship opportunities or apprenticeship opportunities, that is available because of those connections that we have. So here's some photos of our main campus. On our main campus, you'll find our award-winning brewery program and also our culinary arts, which is well known. A lot of people know about Schoolcraft is through our culinary arts program. We have a phenomenal culinary arts program. We have a full-service restaurant where our culinary students prepare the food items. We also have various cafes around campus where our culinary students actually make the food items for those as well. In addition to our Vista Tech Center where culinary lives, we also have our Health Science Center, which is a newly renovated building with a ton of science labs and x-ray labs with state-of-the-art equipment that is very practical to what you'll see in actual hospitals. And then we have our Biomedical Technical Center, with some other nursing science labs and simulation labs to offer our health sciences students. And then lastly, we have our Mercy Elite Sports Center, which is our athletic center where there's an indoor track. One of our health science programs are over there. Our movement science program is housed over at that Mercy Elite Center. So there's a lot going on our main campus. These photos give you a little highlight of what is offered here. And then moving on to our public safety training complex, this is what it looks like. As I mentioned earlier, some of our programs are criminal justice, police academy, homeland security, our fire technology program and academy. There's some training courses over there, fires, arms range, and a fire training tower. So very practical. These are classrooms that our students are actually learning in, so they really get that experience of actually being out in the field as an officer or a firefighter. And then here's a glimpse into our manufacturing engineering center. As I said, state-of-the-art equipment and actual equipment that the students will work on with and once they enter out into the field, and the various programs there ranging from computer aided design to welding to mechatronics and engineering technology. So whether you are going to achieve an associate's degree here with us at Schoolcraft or a certificate, or you're planning to transfer to a four-year institution to get a bachelor's degree, Schoolcraft is here to support you within that process. We have a couple different options when it comes to students transferring, but then we also offer our own set of credentials for our students to earn at Schoolcraft. So this step ladder kind of shows you these credentials that we offer specifically. So as you can see, we have skill certificates, and associate's degree programs. Our skill certificates and certificate programs are designed to get you right out into the workforce with as little as 1 to 3 semesters worth of classes. So we have students who are training in specific areas and are finishing up and having a credential under their belt with a little over a year of coursework. And then of course we have our associate's degrees, which are your 2-year programs that are more thorough and go more in depth and have more of those general education credits built into the curriculum. One nice thing about all of our credentials that we do offer here within particular programs is that you can stack them. So for example, culinary, if you decide to do a skill certificate in culinary, if you decided you felt after you start the program, you decide that you love it, you can stack those credentials and work your way up to an associate's degree. But by all means, you can start off at an associate's degree. Also, there's a lot of variability of how you can earn a credential here at Schoolcraft and a lot of options when it comes to taking courses with us. But it is nice that a lot of our programs overlap and offer not just one credential within a specific area. As I mentioned, we do also have transfer plans or pathways that students can take if their end goal is to eventually get a bachelor's degree. One of them is our Michigan Transfer Agreement. So this is an agreement between Schoolcraft and majority of the public four-year institutions in the state of Michigan that state if you complete a sequence of classes from this document here, you can have your lower level general education credits completed if you complete the Michigan Transfer Agreement. So once you complete a sequence of classes from here that you'll work with your academic advisor to plan out, you'll get an endorsement on your transcript that says you completed it. So once you transfer those credits over, your lower level credits and general education credits will be completed. This not only saves you time, but it saves you money in the long run because you won't have to repeat these courses, which are courses that you'll have to take no matter where you go to get that university credit that you need to fulfill the program requirements. So a lot of students at Schoolcraft are working on the Michigan Transfer Agreement to eventually transfer over those credits to a 4-year, and it's at a much cheaper rate, of course. Here at Schoolcraft, we do have more variability when it comes to how you can take your courses as well. Not only do we have a couple different campuses that you may have your courses held at, we also have a couple different formats you can take courses in. First and foremost, our traditional courses, which are your face-to-face courses where you have a certain day and time. You have to meet for a lecture in a classroom. We also have online course options, which have no specific day and time where you have to meet, but you'll have assignment due dates outlined in your syllabus, which is given to you at the beginning of the semester. If you don't know what syllabus is just simply a document that is handed out to you by your professor at the beginning of the semester, outlining what the class is about and all the course content that you need to know, and then also highlights what assignments you'll have due throughout the semester. So you would need to heavily rely on your syllabus if you decide to take an online course. We do have some programs that are offered fully online. You go to our website, you can see all of our distance learning programs that can be done 100% online. We also have remote, which is similar to what we're on right now, where you'll meet on a Zoom call or virtual conference call at a certain day and time. And then you'll have assignment due dates, of course. And then lastly, we have hybrid, which is a mixture of your in-person and then your remote courses, where you'll have one day where you're on, some days where you're on a remote call like this, and then you have others when you have to actually come onto campus. These are more common in your lab type courses or your studio courses, like the sciences or any of our art courses where you have a studio attached to it. As I mentioned earlier, we do have individuals on campus who can support you within the process of planning out your classes and supporting you with career exploration. Also, if you plan to transfer, walking you through that plan, letting you know your different options. And these are your academic advisors. So they are trained experts and they're similar to your counselors in high school. And they're there to be a guide to you when it comes to understanding what is required of you for courses, for your particular program, but also to let you know about transfer options with four-year institutions we have partnerships with. In addition to the Michigan transfer agreement that I mentioned earlier, we also have special articulation agreements with four-year institutions. So if you have a specific program in mind that you're interested in, we may have a partnership with a particular school and a particular program that you're interested in. For example, we have a partnership with Eastern Michigan University's engineering program. So if that's your particular interest, you know you want to go to Eastern, speak up and talk to your academic advisor about that opportunity. And tell them that your goal is to eventually get a bachelor's degree in engineering, and they can tell you about all of the courses you will need to take at Schoolcraft that will transfer over into their engineering program. And that's just one example. We have a ton of other articulation agreements and different program options when it comes to those articulation agreements. So that's what the academic advisor is there to support you with help you understand what you need to do and develop your educational plan and plan out your goals. As a new student at Schoolcraft, you are required to meet with the academic advisor before you are able to register for your first semester of classes. This is just to set you up for success, to make sure you're started off on the right track. And you're selecting courses that align with what your goal is here at Schoolcraft and beyond. We also have a ton of supports when it comes to other areas of academics. So we have academic success coaches on campus. We have free tutoring and a writing studio where you can get support with writing essays. Our tutoring is 24/7 through our learning center. We also have a mentorship program and various scholarship opportunities available. As I mentioned, we accepted Detroit Promise. We actually have a Detroit Promise coach, which is a mentor for those students on campus who are using their Detroit Promise scholarship to make sure that you're staying top of your eligibility to keep your scholarship and be a mentor to you while you're on campus. We also have student leadership and development through our academic support area, and then student success workshops. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm running towards the end. Okay, so I'm going to speed through really quickly. We do have campus life because we have 2 minutes left remaining. So we do have a vibrant campus life. So check it out on our website if you are interested. As a student who's taking courses with us, you do have a free membership to our fitness center if that's something you're particularly interested in. And then a couple different options when it comes to paying for classes here at Schoolcraft. There's a couple different options for financial aid. Of course, number one is the FAFSA, so be sure that you're filling out your FAFSA application. I mentioned scholarships earlier. Be sure that you are applying for as many scholarships as possible. Look for as many renewable scholarships as possible. Those are scholarships that you can be awarded over and over again, and it's not like a one time and done. Of course, one time and done scholarships are great also, but look for as many renewable as well. Also, student employment opportunities. Schoolcraft particularly offers student employment opportunities on campus. That's another way you can fund your tuition. This here, I just want to show a visual of our comparison. As you can see, Schoolcraft is a much cheaper rate when it comes to taking courses compared to your other state schools or four-year institutions. We're huge cost savings, as I mentioned earlier. Sorry, I'm zooming through this. These are just some of our admission scholarships that we offer that I mentioned earlier. They have specific GPA requirements available. We also have leadership and honor scholarships that we offer that you could be awarded. So not only can you get a scholarship from grades, you can also get a scholarship for taking on leadership roles on campus. And I just want to go through really quickly because we are out of time. It's really simple for you to become a student at Schoolcraft. First and foremost, we have an online application which takes you about 15 minutes to complete. And then from there, you'll submit your high school transcripts and test scores. As I mentioned earlier, they will not affect your admissions in any way. From there, you will complete online orientation and meet with your academic advisor. As I mentioned, it's required. And then you're ready to register for your classes. So we have a pretty streamlined process. Feel free to scan that QR code that's on the screen. That'll take you to our application page. And I'm sorry I had to rush at the very end, but I will remain on the call for a little bit if you guys have any questions about anything that I covered in this session. And your counselor has my email, so feel free, if you don't have a question right now, if something comes up later, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer those questions.
All right, thank you so much for this wonderful and very thorough presentation. Greatly appreciate it. So at this time, I am going to allow any students and or staff members who have questions on behalf of their students to ask their questions for the remainder of the session. We do understand some of the teachers, though, you may have to get back to your classroom. And so that is absolutely fine if you must go. But if we do have questions, let's take them, either coming off of mute or utilizing the chat box, which I am monitoring.